All right, let's get ready for another episode. Here we go. Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations of the timeline and go beyond the posts. I'm your host, Slow Steph, and I'm back here for episode 213 of the platform. Welcome back to all the people who are returning viewers. If you're a brand new viewer, I'd like you to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications. Everybody, no matter who you are, leave a comment below if you want to join the conversation. And then if you know anybody that's interested in the content, it always goes a long way when you hit that share button. So let's keep it going. This week, man, I'm happy to be back for episode 213. This week, I kind of it's almost like a week and a half, a little bit since our last episode, at least like when it drops. But yeah, so like the football season, we're going to talk a little bit about the football season and like with the Packers and how it's mostly up, but like there's some moments where it's going up and down. And I would say that the Packers right now are back to square one, going into a tough game with the Philadelphia Eagles. But we're going to talk a little bit about the Packers and how they've been the last couple weeks and their up and down behavior, and also an injury that might be really bad for us going through the rest of the season. So we'll look into that. But what do we have this week? We have the Packers talk here. We also have. Oh, we're gonna talk about food stamps. So we're gonna all this talk about food stamps. So I'm just gonna give my commentary on just certain aspects of the debate. We're going to talk about the NBA and their new broadcasting schedule, but also this gambling scandal that has kind of put a damper on the league, and now it has everybody looking at everybody a little bit crazy. What else do we have? Oh, and then hip hop not being in the top 40 for the first time in 35 years. 35 years, I believe. Yeah, So yeah, we'll talk about that topic as well. Do I have anything else? Maybe some commentary on a movie that I watched recently, but it's an oldie but goodie. But yeah, we'll try to get into that. All right, so where do we get started? All right, here we go. All right, man. So obviously, I've been trying to last couple weeks. I've been trying to avoid talking about politics and stuff like that. And this is not going to be necessarily a political talk but this is just a societal talk, just a little bit about food stamps. And in terms of the status of SNAP benefits for people, I don't exactly know where the status is because it seems like it was shut off, but then there was some type of court ruling that said that there's emergency funds that can be used, and I think people can get their benefits, but I don't receive those benefits, so I don't know for sure what's on and what's off. What I have seen though in the media is like I seen clips from Philly, and it was Halloween night. They were Fresh Grocer was boarding up their windows because they knew the first was on Saturday, and they decided they was like, hey, y'all not about to loot us. Y'all not about to loot our business. So that was something that kind of took place, and I'm imagining that like maybe similar measures have been taken for that. The reason for this, the reason why people or maybe businesses have been taking this precaution is because on social media we have seen people talk about how they were going to have organized and planned looting sessions of grocery stores if the SNAP benefits ran out. Now let's backtrack a little bit. So about SNAP benefits. So since I would say since like even like the Reagan era, like the 80s, there has always been this stereotype called about the welfare queen, right? And that's and if you ever watched the one show Glow, the glamorous ladies of wrestling, and that was a comedy, but that was like one of the characters in the show. Like her character was the welfare queen, but like that was like a nasty stereotype that was created back in the day that characterized black women, and it was like black women that were like quote unquote gaming the system and like leeching off of the government. Now things like welfare, like you talking about SNAP benefits, stuff like that. That those type of measures started around the Great Depression. Like so, you could thank FDR for creating a system like that, so to speak. And obviously, it has evolved over the decades, over the last century. Like it has definitely evolved, and it's supposed to be used in a time of need. It's supposed to be used kind of like as a bridge, as a transition, right? And a lot of times it is, right? It's for maybe people that no longer can work because they may be disabled or they may be elderly. It might be people that just maybe just downtrodden and kind of in a unfortunate situation, right? So yes, that's what it's for. That is the design of it, right? But just like anything else, just like anything else that has laws and regulations, you know, there's always going to be loopholes and there's always going to be people that learn how to abuse the system. So, and what you have to create those boundaries, right? Those regulations because you don't want people to misappropriate what it's for, right? However, too, once those regulations and guidelines are put in place, people learn how to game the system. Now, I think there is a misconception that one, people that are on welfare, everybody that's on welfare is unemployed or they are lazy. Um, I don't know. I like it's lazy, not motivated, right? But the statistics show that 60% of people that earn SNAP benefits work in some capacity. Now, partly that might be because there are maybe some work requirements for SNAP, and I know with the current administration, they were presenting like new ideas for like maybe more strict work requirements and volunteer requirements, and for somebody that's pretty level-headed and especially if I can understand what the purpose of welfare benefits are, then yes, that makes sense to me. I know there's some people that will maybe live in more of a victim mentality and they might say like, "Oh, that's not fair." And I would say like, no, cuz for the design of it, it is supposed to be temporary. So that's one misconception. One misconception is that everybody that's on welfare on SNAP benefits must be lazy. Another misconception is that like the majority of people that are on SNAP benefits of some sort are abusing the system. Abusing the system. And when I say abusing the system, it is people figuring out ways to stay on these benefits and these systems for longer than that temporary time period probably should allow them. Or they might go in and out of the system, when it comes to employment. Like they might be employed for a little bit, but then get unemployed right at the very right time, so their benefits don't get disrupted. We see that though, like we do see people abusing it, like where, but also in the other end where people like are able-bodied and they might have side hustles or they might make money under the table in some ways. And I'm not saying it's something illegal, but something that's not necessarily on the books. They might have a cash business, right? So then they don't have any like reported income. And again, I'm not talking about criminal activities, but like, yeah, you might sell t-shirts, whatever, but like you don't have an LLC, you babysit, kind of, but you don't go through like certain proper channels. You might whatever it is, like you do gig work, right? To where you don't necessarily have a steady income, and some people know how to game it to where that, and then some people know how to some people commit actual fraud, right? And they figure out ways to get absorbent amount of money. And like, but I think there's this misconception that like most people that are on these services are doing that. And I would say that that can't be the case. That can't be the case because if the reason why that can't be the case is because we haven't had enough. I would say this: if the argument behind welfare abuse and welfare fraud, if the argument was that people that really need it are being are unable to benefit from those incentives, the people that needed those services, if they can't even have access because like the wait lists are too long, or uh uh just the sign up process, like yeah, like some type of wait list is put in place to where it's like, people are getting overlooked, and then even though they're in a time of need, if that was way more if that was way more prevalent and way and presented onto the forefront, then I think it would be imperative to crack down on welfare. But like, people want to crack down on it because they are upset that people are getting something that they may necessarily not be getting. So what I had to say to that is the fact that by and large, most people that are on welfare, on any type of SNAP benefits, a lot of them, especially, I would say this: the people that abuse SNAP benefits and things like that, those are people that are never going to get ahead anyway. Like, those are not the people that you should even be jealous of, because they kind of stay in that. Like, if they want to keep lying and they want to have disability for this, or they want whatever, if you feel like they're falsifying documents and information, and lying about who's living in their houses and things like this, those are people that don't get ahead in life anyway. So like, what does it really matter, right? And my thing is, what is the alternative, right? So if we do cut off benefits to everybody, if we make everything strict, right? Then what's the alternative? The alternative is that people will be starving and people will be homeless. And we already have a homelessness problem in our country. And so doing something like getting rid of SNAP benefits would be on the path to making those situations worse, right? There's not enough affordable housing. So yeah, if people are abusing housing and probably shouldn't be living in places that should go to more fortunate families. If that was more widespread about people being denied access, then I would be all for some like type of hardcore crackdown of it. The thing is, with SNAP benefits being halted, that wasn't even necessarily what was supposed to be happening. This is just a result of other politics, right? This is a result of like the shutdown wasn't caused because of this, but this is a result of the shutdown, so to speak, right? So I just think that like, people, I don't know, man, they go out of their way to like to want to get rid of stuff for the bad apples, as opposed to let's figure out how to protect the good apples, you know. Or let's figure out how to just service the people that are doing good, even if it means that some people are going to be doing bad in the process. Like, but like, let's not do some like overarching blanket cancellation of something that is going to hurt people. And the fact that, I said 60% of people who are on benefits, SAP benefits, they work. So what that tells you is that people are working for companies and working in industries where they don't stand to make that much money. They're working in industries and working for companies that don't pay them a livable wage. So that's why they have to be on these type of benefits. I seen an interesting quote. I'm gonna read it because I don't have. I had a video or two I could have shared about this, but I thought this was telling, right? So it was Michael Che. He said this country is built on greedy mofos taking shortcuts and gaming the system to their benefit. But for some reason, when poor people find a way to turn a nickel into a dime, they're judged more severely, especially black people, right? So yeah, I would have to agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. I would definitely have to agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly, because we worry so much. We worry so much about, somebody again scamming the system when really they're like I just said earlier, they're not getting ahead anyway. Like, okay, they were able to get a couple dollars that only really benefit them for food and there's also all these type of restrictions on it, right? So we're worried about that, but like we don't worry about the white collar criminals that steal people's retirements. We don't worry about the corporations that don't pay livable wages. We don't worry about the big pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies that deny people life-saving care because of pre-existing conditions and things like that. Like we don't worry about that type of stuff. Or we feel powerless to those things, right? But because we know that there's a vulnerable population, we would rather focus more on what the vulnerable population is doing. I mean, if there was a bunch of rich families that knew how to fraud the SNAP benefit system, you know, and they were like literally like turning that into like some type of like lucrative business because like they don't even pay for their food or something like that, then we got a problem. But like that's not even the case. So I don't know. I just think that I think yeah, we do all need to just yeah, kind of put yourself in somebody else's shoes and just think that yeah, most people are one emergency, one layoff, one medical procedure, away from having to utilize these services as well. So like stop worrying about the minutia or the small percentage of people that abuse the system, and let's think about what's best for the people that need it, right? Like let's keep them at the forefront of our minds. Currently and just in general, we think about the bad stuff. On the forefront of our minds be the bad stuff, be the people, you got all these people talking about some like, oh, all they do is use their money for lashes and weave and drugs and things like that. Yes, there are people that do sell their stamps. They do sell their credit, their money for actual cash. What they do with that money after the fact is none of my business. If anything, it helps other families out that really need the food or really want the food or really could use like a leg up, because there's a lot of middle class families that wouldn't mind having a little bit of benefits. And I guess that's where the disdain comes from, because it is like some middle class people that are like, man, I wish I had a little bit more for groceries and things like that. But like, I think if you think about the bigger picture, right? We know people that have been on Section 8 probably for decades. And is that wrong? Yes, but like, should we focus all our energy on cracking down on that? I don't think so, especially if what you're going to do in the meantime is shut things off for everybody. I just think I'm gonna get off of this topic, but I think everybody does need to think about their own situations and what their life would look like if they needed to utilize those services in a time of need. And if people are constantly questioning when you're probably like the majority of people, you're doing the right thing or you're doing things that are legal under the law, right? No loopholes included, right? So what do you think? What do you think? Leave a comment below. I'm trying to see real quick. Did I want to share something about the benefits? No, I did have a video or two, but I'm not even gonna address it because it's like I said, it's kind of beating a dead horse. And I think it comes down to empathy first and foremost. All right. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. All right, man. For the first time, and we're gonna see it's been decades. For the first time in decades, hip hop. There are no hip hop songs on the Billboard's top 40. So there is not actually a Billboard top 40 list. The Billboard list. It's the Billboard top 100, and then basically, if you look at the top 40 spots, none of them are hip hop artists. All right. So let's take a look here at this video and we're gonna react to a couple of things. We're gonna actually watch a couple of little videos that's related to this topic. So let's take a look here. All right, let me pull this up here. All right, this first guy, I watch a bit of his content. He always talks about the music industry, and his name is Demiza. Demiza. I always see, like I said, I always see his content. So it says not no hip hop in Billboard Top 40. So breaking news. Breaking news, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but and then he's gonna say for the first time. So here we go. First time in 35, yes, that is the first time in 35 years there's no rap songs in the Billboard Top 40.
Breaking news, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, but for the first time in 35 years, there are no rap songs in the Billboard Top 40. A cultural shift that's got the industry abuzz.
Oh, crap. Let me hold on. Oh, snap. My bad, y'all. I thought I was doing something right, but then I hit the wrong button.
The October 25th chart, SZA and Kendrick Lamar's Luther dropped out after 46 weeks, leaving the highest rap record, NBA YoungBoy, Shot Callin', stuck at number 44. Now, to put this in perspective, not since 1990 and Biz Markie's Just a Friend has hip-hop been this absent from the mainstream. Now, analysts are pointing to Billboard's new recurrence rules, which removes older songs faster, plus the total chart domination of Taylor Swift, locking up the top 12 spots on the top 40. But some are saying there's
Oh, dang, I gotta stop. Let me stop messing up the video, man. Hold on, y'all.
deeper
Oh,
forces at play here. From the decline in hip hop's market share down to 24% from 30% in 2020 to a cultural shift amid a conservative wave boosting country and pop. Some scholars are saying mainstream's rap machine got too sanitized and apolitical, losing touch with the radical roots that built it. Others are saying this is the calm before the storm, before a creative rebirth and the explosion of the underground and the indie movement. Either way, it's a moment of reflection for the culture that built the charts in the first place. Story developing, sadly.
all right. So this first person, he's basically talking about how there has been a shift in maybe like some of the rules in terms of it, but a lot of people kind of feel some of these same things. So they feel that hip hop in general, like it got away from the message, and like a lot of people that talk, like a lot of older school people will definitely talk about how hip hop has changed in terms of the geared audience and also like the purpose of it and like the ways that hip hop can be beneficial. And a lot of the music that people listen to today when it comes to hip hop is not anything that it's not music that stands for anything. Like for example, um NWA or even like Public Enemy, right? There was like a political slant in the way that they were rapping. Even NWA, even though it was gangster rap, what they were worried about and what they were talking about, their subject matter had to do with like uplifting people as opposed to, nowadays there's music that's about um people being on drugs and being kind of drugged out, whatever. So that's part of it, but then also too, you have like some of these pop stars that are like really, really taking over. For example, somebody like Taylor Swift, who does have a lot of the top 40 spots. So actually, I did want to take a look at that, and I kind of wanted to show y'all real quick what the top 100 looks like right now, and then we'll get to 40, and we'll see where we're at and like what's wrong. So look, if we look, Taylor Swift. This I don't even know who these people are, so that's probably a pop group, I would assume. Alex Warren, don't even know that. Taylor Swift, 4, 5, and 6 spots. Justin Bieber, okay, but another pop artist. Olivia Dean, I'm not too sure who that is. Morgan Wallen, that's country. All right, R&B. Yeah, R&B with Mutt. Okay, here we go. Look, Taylor Swift has 11, 12, 13. Kalani, there we go. Another R&B artist though. 14. 15, Taylor Swift. 16 is Chris Brown. That I think Saja Boys. I think that's based on these names. I think that's probably like some type of K-pop. Somber. I don't even know necessarily who that is, but look, Taylor Swift. Places 19 and 20. Another country artist, Morgan Wallen. Taylor Swift. K-pop. Artists I'm not familiar with. Sabrina Carpenter. We know that's pop music. Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, this group or this whoever these people are again. I don't even know who some of these artists are. Luke Combs, Back in the Saddle. Oh, that's the game. That's the song from Madden. Nah, that song is actually kind of dope. That's country, but like, nah, that song is dope. That's on Madden. That's on Madden. All right, Dracula, number 34. Whoever this is, Tame Impala. Don't. Yeah, bro. I don't even know who these people are. Yukon. Okay, Mariah Science is also another R&B artist. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So look, most of these are names that I've never even heard of. So let's see. Where does the first rap song doesn't come till number 43. And when I started looking, I was like, well, let's how do we compare that with like the current hip hop charts? Because obviously, so in mainstream music, we're not being featured, or we don't, and it's not even that we're not being featured. We don't have any artists that are making music that's reaching those heights, that's being listened to that much. But when I even look at the hip hop, it's a lot of artists that like you would think that are doing really well, and they might be doing well relative to hip hop, but like yeah, it's not relating or it's not translating to numbers. We talked about this over the last couple of years. I've had this podcast now for a couple of years, and we've talked about like the decline in numbers, and we kind of wait and we kind of hope for the mainstays, the big hitters to kind of carry the genre, but like the big hitters, they've either come and gone, like they drop stuff and it doesn't go that no, anywhere. There's another theory that we're gonna get into and watch maybe another video, but like there's something missing. There's something missing, and I think it's the quality of the rap music that typically is out. Even as big as NBA YoungBoy is, he's not he's not breaking through to the great masses of America when we talk about these charts, all right? So yeah, let me share another video though. But yeah, these are artists that are crazy. One thing I learned too by looking at Billboard is when you click on the hip hop charts, right? One, it's hip hop and R&B, so they kind of put us all together anyway. But another thing that I noticed is that you need a subscription. So like they don't even want us to know what the numbers are. Like they'll share the big numbers, right? And you see it's a lot of Taylor Swift and a lot of other pop artists. I'm even going down. Yeah, so you see Safe for Cardi B is 57. Her peak was 26 though. And it's been on chart for 5 weeks. So I guess I mean, a couple weeks ago, there was some Cardi B on there. Tyler Creator's peak, Sugar on My Tongue, was only 41. Hell of a Night peak was 35. So yeah, we did have something else in there. Even NBA YoungBoy's peak has only been 43. Last week it was 44. He's been on the chart for 6 weeks. Cardi's been on the chart for 5 weeks, but she's had a big drop, right? From her peak at 26. Last week she was at 48. Now she's at 57. Rod Wave. I'm just looking at different names. I get Metro Boomin. G Herbo went legit. It's been on the charts for 14 weeks, but the peak is 73. Like it's staying at its peak. Kid Cudi, I didn't know Kid Cudi even dropped. Yeah, bro. This is sad, man. This is sad. This is sad. All right, let's take another look at another video that talks about these charts. Let's take a look.
Well, there's been a lot of discourse about how there's not a single rap song in the top 40 on the Billboard Hot charts since, 1995? And that's for a multitude of reasons. Number one,
Longer than
well,
95.
they changed their rules so that way, songs that stay on the charts forever can no longer stay on the charts forever. Like Luther would still be on there, but that's kind of the big issue that I want to talk about. Luther would be the only rap song in the top 40. And the biggest argument I've seen about, why there isn't a top 40 song, from hip hop is because, well, none of the heavy hitters dropped. Drake didn't drop, Kendrick Lamar didn't drop, and that's not necessarily true. While yes, Drake didn't really drop a rap song this year, Future didn't drop, and Kendrick Lamar didn't drop. Guess who else did though? Travis Scott. Travis Scott would be the fourth big guy of the big four, not including Cole, which would make it the big five. And Travis Scott did drop. And while I think the hate on that tape is a little too much, the songs simply just didn't last. Another big mainstream artist that dropped this year was coordinated as a big mainstream artist that dropped this year, Playboy Cardi. Playboy Cardi didn't last on the charts at all. Like, Cardi fans will make you believe that album was way bigger and lasted way longer than what it actually did. In reality, it didn't even last as long as 5 months. And while I like a lot of the tracks off of there, we have to be honest. It didn't have the lasting power of Whole Lotta Red. It didn't have the lasting power of Dilate. It didn't have the lasting power of Self-Titled. Simply because it wasn't really that much innovative or that much different than what everybody else was already doing in Opium and himself. It was really just a Whole Lotta Red part 2 with just more rock grunge guitars. And Tyler Creator also dropped this year, but there isn't a single rap song that you could point to that was the most successful song off of Don't Tap the Glass. In fact, the most successful songs were I'll Take Care of You and Ring Ring. Which brings me to my final point. I ain't gonna lie, Benny the Butcher, I now see what you were saying. Because now it is definitely looking like, yeah, those who run hip hop are not us anymore. And it hasn't been us for a very long time, in fact. And while yes, I joke to say that does he not know his own fan base, out of this, out of that. The fact of the matter is, all the hot rap songs, all the hot hip hop songs are in the culture. We had Click, we had Freddie Gibbs, we had G.I.D., we had so many fantastic rap albums. None of them have major commercial success, but all of them have been album of the year candidates. So we don't necessarily need the charts to prove to us that, hey, rap is dead. I've been saying that the labels are moving away from hip hop. But I will say, it is a testament that Youngboy is the highest charted rap song. So, hey, Youngboy, congrats, bro. Well, there's been a lot of
All right, he's a young boy. He didn't say nothing that was like that's like a hard disagree. Drake did drop, but he didn't drop a rap song, really, I
It's
guess.
because the labels didn't spend any money. The labels didn't spend any money. That's where the number ones came from before. That's where the top 40 comes from. The label spending money. It's not about music being good or bad. It's because the labels didn't.
I also said though, yeah, and I commented on that one. I said, well, but the music is also bad, right? Like it's not, it's there is a problem. We do have a music quality problem as well. So we can't just kind of run and escape from that and just make it seem like, oh, it's just because the label didn't spend money. I think that has to do with it. There is another narrative is that this whole thing with Kendrick Lamar, and I guess in many ways, as time is going on, yeah, Kendrick, you felt like, oh man, maybe Drake lost the battle, but then he's gonna win the war. But if the war is over, like if you say the war is over today, like it's nothing gonna be to come from it. I guess Kendrick Lamar did win the war. And but a lot of people are saying that like all the whole smear campaign, the whole and I when I say smear campaign, the disses and like what you decided to call this guy in the disses is what is hurt has hurt like Drake's reputation. But like Drake was definitely he fed the algorithms, he fed the Billboard charts with hits, and not even hits of just of his own, but like the songs that he was featured on. The artists that would get big after they did music with Drake. So like, maybe getting Drake out of here was maybe it did have like unintended consequences. Um yeah, maybe it did have unintended consequences and we just kind of didn't see the bigger picture, but it just looks like I don't know. It does look like, there could be several different factors as to why hip hop is not on the charts. But I do think partly it is labels kind of getting away from it. I seen another clip that talked about how the label said that like there was labels that said that yeah they were going to be kind of gearing towards more R&B and more pop songs. So if you look at like Leon Thomas, I love Leon Thomas, and I don't want to say that he's like some type of plant or anything like that, or that he's only being he's only on top of the game right now because of some type of industry push. But it does seem that like he's getting some looks that some other artists, aren't getting currently, and maybe he just makes some more palatable music. It is hard to market that drill stuff, man. It is hard to market and to scale for long periods of time. Some of the stuff what we would call mumble rap. I mean, the one guy's criticism, the one video of even Travis Scott. Yeah, Travis Scott did drop. He didn't drop a album. He dropped Jack Boy's project, and yeah, that did not stand the test of time. There are rappers, there are rap songs, and albums that have come out that people like, but like it doesn't have that commercial success anymore. Maybe right now, maybe the fact that Taylor's album is out and like I said, all these different songs are like eating up the chart. Maybe that has to do with it. Like, because if first, just say her album has 20 tracks on it. If all 20 tracks are on the charts, that's yeah, I mean that's 20% of the whole chart dedicated to one artist, and that would kind of skew the numbers, and that would take probably some rappers off of there. But we'll see, man. We'll see where we're headed. Some people think they like we're in the reset, like the first video said. I don't see it. I don't see it as a reset at all because we don't. There's not one single new artist. There's not one single artist that I look at right now and saying that I would say like, yo, they could carry rap. Like when we think about what rap looked like 15 years ago in 2010, we had like five, six, seven guys that like we looked at. It was like, yo, nah, they gonna be it for the next 10 years. And we talking about Drake. We talking about Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Wale, Big Sean, Meek Mill. Maybe some people thought Big Crit. Maybe people thought Wiz Khalifa. But yeah, those are all people that people had a lot of confidence in that they would carry the game, and like their absence is loud, man. And like I said, even though Cardi B is facing some success or experiencing some success with her album, not she don't got no songs in the top 40 half of the charts. So what does that mean? Who knows? Who knows? All right, let's move on. Let's move on though. What do you think though? What do you think, man? What's wrong with rap right now? What's wrong with it? All right, next thing. What we gonna talk about? Oh, okay. We talked about the hip hop. We talked about food stamps. All right, man. So I spoke in the NBA listen, man. I spoke in the NBA listen. So I don't know if you noticed, but like I remember last season, especially at the end of last season, because the playoffs was around, and for the most part, and this has been my kind of custom over the last like several years, is that I don't really watch too much regular season basketball. And the thing is, I've been wanting to watch like over the last couple years because of some of the players. Like I am excited. Like we do have there is a crop of players in the NBA right now that I would love to see on a nightly basis. The biggest problem with the NBA that I had last year was that I noticed that it was hard to watch games. Like games were inaccessible. ESPN was the main network that you could find games on, and in TNT, if you did not have cable, it was a wrap. But besides that, there was not. That's only two networks, two imprints that are showing games. Because back in the day, there used to be like like before Comcast became Xfinity, before it was like super big. There was a local Comcast channel where you could see the Sixer game, whatever, and it was like again, it was a local broadcast. There was another network that you could see the Wizards games, because like I said, we lived in an area where, you was either getting either or, and then you had those national broadcasts. Well, those things kind of gone away, and there was not another network that was really showing stuff, and we saw how the NFL started to really strive when they got Prime involved, right? And then Netflix got involved. And now Paramount Plus is involved, right? And they'll show their Sunday games. So we started seeing that, and I'm thinking like, well, what is the NBA waiting for? Well, I spoke in the NBA listen. So if you didn't know this, if you've been living under a rock, right? The NBA has a new broadcasting schedule, and basically the NBA is on TV every single night, so you can keep up with the NBA anytime you really want to. So we're gonna go through the lineup, and I'm gonna tell you what channels or what streaming services you can use to watch these NBA games. So on Sundays, we'll start with Sunday. On Sunday, you can watch games on ABC, right? So like it'll be like on TV, probably kind of around the time like football games are going on, maybe even a little bit later. But you can catch stuff on ABC. NBC also shows stuff on Sundays, and it wouldn't be NBC's main broadcast. It would probably be their Peacock broadcast, but Peacock. So NBC, the NBA is back on NBC, but Peacock, since they have that streaming service, Peacock is a player in this as well. On Mondays, if you want to watch basketball, check out Peacock. Tuesdays, NBC and Peacock. Wednesdays, it's ESPN. Thursdays, it's Prime. So not only do we watch the NFL, but we can watch a basketball game on Prime on Thursdays. Friday, it's Prime and it's also ESPN, and then Saturday it's Prime and it's ABC. So I know a bunch of people that got Prime. I know a bunch of people that got Peacock because Peacock came around and they marketed it well enough that where and because their partnership with Xfinity, like they were giving Peacock away for free, and then people kind of got hooked and was like, yeah, no, I paid my little couple dollars to keep that service as well. So I'm glad, man. And ESPN, even though they have this big old contract with the NBA and they bought certain properties and stuff like that, actually they have the bigger contract with the NFL. Because like with NFL Network and stuff. But ESPN is not the primary player in the game, and I like that. I like that it's not just we're not just kind of monopolizing. Some of these are kind of like some repeat people, but it's good. It's good that games are now accessible on a much larger scale, right? Much larger scale. So that's dope, man. So like I have been watching a little bit more NBA. I got to get used to some of the broadcasts and some of the broadcast teams, but some of the broadcast teams are people that we already know, like Reggie Miller. I think Reggie Miller and Stan Van Gundy. I think they're either on Prime or on Peacock. Ian Eagle is who everybody knows him for college sports. He's one of the guys I think on Prime or Peacock right now. So like yeah, there's good. I just gotta get used to that and also just kind of get into the rhythm. What's good about this schedule is the fact that we know once the NFL season starts to wind down, that we will know exactly where to watch our games at. And again, it's not just ESPN and TNT. Like we got like four different platforms that we can watch these things, and most people have access to most of these things, right? So that's dope. Yeah. And as dope as that is, and like we talked about the debuts of some of these great young players, right? What's putting the damper on the NBA is the NBA gambling scandal, right? So I know you guys heard of this NBA gambling scandal. So news broke that Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and Damon Jones were involved in a gambling indictment conducted by the FBI. They arrested over 34 people altogether, and this was a years-long investigation that took place over 11 states that included tens of millions of dollars, and it even included some crime mafia families. So, like, just a quick little breakdown in terms of like the big names. Chauncey Billups is actually being his gambling indictment has to do with like the staged or rigged poker games that he was like either hosting or he was a part of. And then Terry Rozier, his charges have more to do with like placing bets on games, right? And games that he appeared in. And Damon Jones, I believe, is also about like bets and gambling. Um, so it's crazy because this was crazy is and this is what we'll start here is the fact that like there's a lot of people that are automatically they seen these headlines, and the one thing I don't like is when there's something bad that's going on. There's like literally an investigation or indictment or arrest that be made, and the first thing that we do, we don't say that people are innocent, right? Or we don't even claim somebody's innocence. But the first thing that a lot of times we do is we look at somebody getting in trouble and we say, but this person also should get in trouble or whatever, right? Or we talk about that type of stuff. But two wrongs don't make a right, right? I also seen this narrative of like I also seen this narrative where people were saying like, "Well, you mean to tell me that Chauncey Billups was the mastermind behind this, or Terry Rozier, or Damon Jones? You trying to tell me that these people were the masterminds behind this?" And the answer is no. I'm not trying to tell you that. I'm not trying to tell you that these people were the masterminds of these organizations or these things. What I will tell you is that all money is not good money, right? All money is not good money. And I can tell you that when you get involved in these type of like grifts and these type of like shady dealings, right? Whatever happens to you, right? Another thing too is the fact that because people are like, well, where do you, I mean, if there's crime, mafia family, like mafia crime families involved in there, why aren't we seeing their pictures and things like that? Well, here's the thing, I would think that has to do with being a flight risk. If they started dropping like actual names of specific people, if they start put plaster in their face everywhere, that person will go into hiding, right? They don't want that person necessarily to go into hiding. They want that person to feel, that they could kind of move around because they would be more of a flight risk. Now, an NBA player who, especially these are NBA people or NBA players, coaches that are currently employed, right? And they're public, they have extremely public personas, and they wouldn't be deemed as flight risks. I mean, like they're not, the cops are not worried about them. And even if they're not the masterminds, they are going to use these NBA players to get to them. So yes, Chauncey Billups is going to have, like, if he wants to get out of this, he gonna have to snitch, right? Terry Rozier is gonna have to snitch. Damon Jones is gonna have to snitch, right? And I'm putting that in air quotes because it's like, it is what it is. Like, yes, I don't think people that are involved in crime should be telling on other people that are involved in crime. But if they're civilians and if they really didn't do anything wrong, like if they had no idea what was going on, then they should be very forthcoming. That's when we're gonna learn what their real involvement was, right? So what's crazy to me is that they basically were able to tie these crimes to like several, especially like Terry Rozier, to several specific basketball games where insider knowledge affected the outcome of the games with these players. And the charges that Billups and Rozier are facing, they have to do with like wire fraud and money laundering, right? Do I think that they were the masterminds? No, no. I do think that all these guys kind of got caught up into making some type of money that they all thought was foolproof, and they thought they would probably be able to get money quick, and they thought no one would find out because you know their ties to these people aren't that visible, right? So they probably thought they could get away with it. Like, you do stuff like this because you think you can get away with it, but it's not good money, man. Gambling in general is not good money, man. Like, I know people will swear by it, people talk about how they win. There are some people that act like they have a system and they're not addicted. But I would say, man, it's not good. It's not good. Um, and but then the other side of it is like, what do we expect? what do when we allowed betting, like, that was a big, I grew up in a time where I was a child where Pete Rose was, and it was before my time, but Pete Rose was suspended, lifelong ban from baseball because of betting on baseball. So I've been programmed to know and like just accept that like betting on sports is bad, especially when you're involved in the sports. But here's the thing, like, the it's one thing to have these betting entities, these betting houses. It's one thing that they exist. It's a whole nother thing when you have NBA players that endorse it. When you have these betting houses and betting companies, they're sponsors of the NBA. So what do you expect? You expect that even though there's rules in place, you think that guys are not going to bet on their own games or bet on the games of their colleagues, and you think that these guys are not going to get information that could be detrimental. right? Or could be beneficial to them in some and making some type of bet. You don't think that, I mean, we always have accused people of point shaving in years. You know what I mean? Like, what made them do this? What made them do that? So you think that's not, you think that once you made it at the forefront and once you kind of shoved it in everybody's face, you think that people aren't into doing that? That's absolutely happening. Now, being able to prove it is a whole nother thing, but you don't get indicted from the FBI with this kind of money type of stuff unless there's a paper trail. And with any type of money, there's a paper trail, right? There's a paper trail. Especially like all these transactions are online, all this online betting and stuff like that. Like it is public, like not public, but like it is transactions that can be traced. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why they thought they could introduce it because they thought like, well, I mean, these are very transparent transactions. So like, what could go wrong? Well, a lot could go wrong. Last thing I'll say about this is crazy because a lot of people are probably wondering like, how did all this come about? Well, I'm learning this myself, but there's a very interesting article that I think everybody should check out. If you're into this type of stuff, you should check out this article that's on Sports Illustrated, right? And the article is titled on Sports Illustrated. The article is titled "How an Anonymous Gambling Cheat Ended Up at the Center of the NBA's Betting Scandal." It says Shane Hennon, who is accused by federal authorities of fixing NBA prop bets and playing a central role in the poker scheme, has a long history of committing crimes and running from the consequences. So it's a pretty long article, but if you read that article, you'll learn that like this guy, this guy is that one domino that fell that's getting everybody in trouble because they're showing a link between the poker game, the legal poker games, the rigged poker games, and the betting, right? The sports betting and the prop bets. They're able to show a link, and like this guy is linked to all these different situations, and it's his story is crazy because this guy is a criminal, right? Like this guy has committed a lot of different crimes, but then like he's been arrested many times and like has been let go partially because he's an informant, right? So this guy Shane Hennon, he's a witness and he's a cooperator to the FBI, and this guy publicly still sells prop bets, right? Like he still promotes picks and things like that. So like it's crazy, but yeah, check out this article on SI about this guy named Shane Hennon, or just kind of Google Shane Hennon and you're gonna see some stuff, man. It's a way deeper, darker criminal link that a lot of people are not discussing. So, what do you think, man? What do you think about the gambling scandal? I know more stuff is gonna come out as it goes, but again, I don't think gambling belongs in sports. I think that the fact that if you ever watch a commercial with any of these gambling things, they probably they're required by law to put like the gambling addiction numbers on there. And the thing is, it's like anything that's like truly fun and truly good for you should not come with some type of warning label like that, right? Like just think about it. Like anything that's truly good for you and worth your while, it should not be nothing should have some type of gambling like some type of hotline associated with it, right? But I digress and I'll move on. Let's see. Yeah, this is gonna be our last main topic, and I might chime in and talk about something. But so the Packers, man, Packers disappointed me, man. So the Packers lost again to a inferior team or a team that kind of looks inferior on paper. So the Packers lose to the Carolina Panthers, and I was on a high, man, because I was gonna record and talk about the Pittsburgh win. I knew Pittsburgh, because they started the season hot. And, seeing them on the schedule, I'm like, damn, man, that's a tough team that we got to play. I was trying to go to that game as well. And the Packers dominated. They started slow again. So this is a recurring theme. The Packers offense starts slow. The Packers take their time on getting their offense in rhythm so they can score points and actually compete. Like they've been struggling in a bunch of games. And this is a second time. My son even pointed this out. It's like, yo, this is the second time where we played a team that we thought we were better in, and we were looking forward to a game with a team that was, it should be pretty good, and how we blew that opportunity. So the first time was when we lost to the Browns, and it was us looking ahead to that Cowboys game because of Michael Parsons. Looking ahead to the Cowboys game, and then we lose to the Browns. And a game that we probably shouldn't have lost at all. Like we had chances to really win that game. Then fast forward to the Carolina Panthers game, and it's another because we're looking forward to the Eagles. So it's like, all right, man, yeah, like, do we need motivation? Do we need a loss to get us hyped up? I would say no. Like, I want to avoid losses as much as we can, especially to teams that we should beat. But again, our offense started slow, so that they lost 16-13. There's another game where we lost by just a field goal, right? And another game where special teams and our inability to convert in special teams was a catalyst or a reason why that we lost this game. So against the Carolina Panthers, we knew that they were going to want. We knew that they were going to want to run the ball, right? So Rico Dowdle, they got Chuba Hubbard, and we knew Rico, man. Rico's been killing teams, right? Been killing teams. We knew they was going to run the ball. So before the fourth quarter of this game, the Panthers, before the end of the fourth quarter, right? Like when Bryce Young is really trying to like make some passes to make a difference, they had only had like 16 passing attempts, right? Like he didn't have that many yards passing at all. But Rico Dowdle, they had 16 pass plays, and at one point in time they had 30 run plays. And really it was a Rico Dowdle run that kind of like put them into field goal range, where it's at the end of the game we're trying to keep them from getting into field goal range. At the 50-yard line we're at there, and we get a couple stops, then we can get off the field. Rico Dowdle ran for like 19 yards and gets to like the 31-yard line in great position to set them up to win the game. And that's what it was. Like they did their part. Brandon McManus missed another field goal. He missed two last week. He missed one this week. And it was a field goal that was makeable. It wasn't a super long field goal. I think it's time that we need to, like, this is the second time that a field goal has cost us. So like in the Browns game, he got a field goal blocked, and that field goal would have put us in a position to win the game. Like, we'd have won the game if we could have hit that field goal. Against the Cowboys, he had an extra point blocked, and it got returned in for a score. And that play literally was the game, because we would have had a 3-point lead. We'd had a different level of momentum, but like that 3 points is like we ended that game in a tie, so we needed those 3 points. And then in this game, possibly if he hits the field goal earlier in the game, the Carolina Panthers would be driving to try to tie it up, as opposed to driving to win the game. So again, special teams has been kind of our sore spot. That's one of our biggest Achilles heels. And it starts with kicking, and we thought we had the answer with McManus, and he's been blowing it, man. He's been blowing it. It looks like the guy Lucas Harrisek, the two games or the few kicks that we seen him, he looked very efficient. He looked strong. He looked like he's the answer. He set a franchise record for the longest field goal for our team. So that's a guy that I would rather want to go with. So yeah, so special teams is gonna be the thing that holds us back. I don't know if it's play calling. This game wasn't televised, so I can't really see. But like what I noticed was that we would get deep down into the red zone, and then like we could not convert. Either we would get a penalty, which we kind of reduced a lot of our penalties, but we would get a penalty, or we have an untimely incomplete pass, or we have an untimely loss of yards on the down. Like Josh Jacobs could be running well the whole game, and then like he'll take a loss at the wrong time, or like the times that we choose to run, it's like, yo, bro, why we don't got no short pass that we could just kind of utilize. So like I think some of it is our offense is starting slow, but it has to be the play calling. Like we're satisfied with having one drive per quarter. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like we're satisfied with having one drive per quarter. And when you shorten the game like that, when you play at that kind of pace where it's very slow and methodical, you don't give yourself a lot of room for error. And when you play like that, that's for teams that struggle, that don't have talent, that are trying to just survive games. We shouldn't be trying to survive any games. We should be stomping teams. We should be going out and trying to take the lead and trying to dominate. But like that has not been the case. That has not been the case for us. So yes, are we on fraud alert? Yes, we are on fraud alert. We're on fraud watch, and people that have that opinion, rightfully so, rightfully so, man. Like I believe in my team, but it ain't nobody else's job to believe in my team. So like, should we be on fraud alert watch? Right, we are. We should be because we have some things that are I think are fixable, but we have things that need to be fixed, and it just feels like I don't know. We playing with borrowed time, and we're not really addressing the things that we need. So whether it's player personnel, like whether it's like players putting them in the right positions and getting guys on the right guys on the field, whether it's injuries, whether it's play calling, whether it's our general pace, like we're not putting it all together. We have not put it all together this season, and we have been winning some games because we do have high potential. But when you don't put it together on a week to week basis, you lose to teams like the Carolina Panthers, right? But other sad news though about that loss, we lost probably our best offensive weapon of this year so far, and that's Tucker Kraft. So Tucker Kraft is going to be going through an MRI. They said his knee got rolled up on and he might have torn his ACL. So we'll see. Hopefully it's not nothing serious, but like that was the last thing that we needed to happen. Like, and he takes a lot away from our like not having a guy like that. It takes a lot from our offense. We do have a guy like Lucas Musgrave that should be able to kind of plug in and get busy because he was supposed to be the guy that was like the main player, and obviously he had injuries throughout. So like we got to stay healthy. We got to regroup. We gotta play to our strengths, and we got to get it together. But Tucker, if we lost Tucker Craft for a long period of time, yeah, I'm worried about our season, man. I'm worried about the state of our season, and like just bigger guys when they have injuries like that, I just don't feel like they do well with recovering. So we'll see, man. We'll see, and hopefully, we get him back on the field sooner than later. But what do you think, man? What do you think? How's your team doing? There have been some upsets. We saw the Vikings upset the Lions. That was another. I feel like yeah, those two upsets. I mean, the Packers was an upset. The Vikings was an upset. Any other upsets? Yeah, that's all that really comes to mind right now. Yeah, it sucks, man. I'm so mad. I'm so mad that we lost that game. But we gotta bounce back. We gotta recover. What do you think, man? What do you think about this week's episode? What do you think about the NBA season so far? What do you think about the gambling scandal? What do you think about all this talk about food stamps? And then hip hop, man, the evolution or the de-evolution of hip hop. What do you think about it? Where do you stand? How's it looking in your eyes? All right, let me know in the comment section below. But if you're still watching this show, I appreciate you. I love your support. I need you to hit that like button. I need you to hit that subscribe button. I need you to hit that bell for notifications. Come on, leave a comment below. Give me some motivation, some encouragement. I appreciate being able to give you all this content every week. And this is episode 213 of the 280 Plus podcast, y'all. I'm your host, Los Def, and I'm out. Peace. right now.